Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Okelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me for another beautiful episode of the Daily African Proverbs. My name is Simon Okelo and I am in Seattle, Washington. I'm here, with another African proverb. I will be pinning the proverb on my Clubhouse profile in a moment so that those who are joining us on Clubhouse can join us on YouTube as well. But the proverb is another beautiful African proverb, and it says, nobody is born wise. Nobody is born wise. This is a simple proverb, but it's also very, very complicated. Many African proverbs have so many layers. Some proverbs are meant to just warn you. Some proverbs are meant to caution you whenever, for example, this proverb, nobody is born wise. It's a proverb that is a reminder to those who already think they know, those who already think that they are leaders and that they know too much. It's a warning that maybe you don't know enough, So it's really a proverb for leaders, But also it's a proverb that you can always use even for your child, if you're a parent, to remind them that, hey, even though you're learning. For example, I'm a father of 3 little girls, and right now they are grasping so much, and sometimes one of them says something and the other one corrects them, and in a moment like that you can use this to just, instead of telling them that, oh, you can't say this and that to your sister, but you can just tell them, nobody is born wise, even though you should still listen, But I'm here with the amazing Vivian, who is a wonderful leader, a leader that I have to honestly say that I personally look up to. And Vivian is a film director. She's a writer. She's also the executive director of the Northwest Film Forum here in Seattle, Washington. And Vivian, thank you for waking up so early, to have this conversation with me. And we are recording this for the African Father in America podcast. And I just want you to, share with us, say hello, and then share with us what your thoughts are about this proverb that says, nobody is born wise. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good morning, or afternoon or evening, wherever people are. I guess it's funny, when I first read it, I'm like, I feel like sometimes young people are more wise than older people. So I read it in a very different way. And I was thinking sometimes children are wiser than adults in some ways because they have less of what interpretations other people tell them, and they go with more like the intuitive, sort of innocent nature of things. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, but the way you interpreted it makes sense too, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Earlier when I sent you this proverb, you said that, is it okay to disagree with proverbs? and yes, it's important to disagree and to question proverbs, and I experienced that a lot during the daily African proverbs. I've had people that, whenever they show up, so we have an audience that is going to join us later on during our conversation. And there are people that whenever they show up, they have a different perspective, And I've learned so much from people like that, And, for me, I feel that if we don't question the proverbs, then there's no learning from these proverbs. So I want to first just give a quick shout out to Edna and Natasha and Joseph and Deborah and James and Wanda and Susan and Rachel, who have already joined us on Clubhouse. And to those who have joined us on YouTube, thank you so much. I have pinned the proverb at the top of the room on Clubhouse. And also, if you click the link on top of the room, you'll be able to join Vivian and I on YouTube. And once you join us on YouTube, please remember to just comment so that we know what your thoughts are in regards to today's proverb. When it gets to 6:30 a.m. this morning, we will be closing hand raising. So if you want to join us on stage, this is a wonderful time for you to do that. That way you can share your thoughts on the proverb and also share your comments on the conversation that Vivian and I are having today. So as we were beginning our conversation today, I was sharing that, Vivian is one of the leaders that I have so much admiration for here in Seattle, because, if you look at the leadership, not only in Seattle, but globally, it's dominated by men. And you don't find so many women in leadership positions. And also, if they are not left to do their job in peace for a significant amount of time, so that they can have the impact that men always have whenever they're in those same positions. And you've been the executive director of the Northwest Film Forum for a little over 3 years. But what I learned yesterday is that you are first a graphic designer at the Northwest Film Forum. So I want you to not start there, but I want you to think about, a story in your childhood that inspired the courage for you to go after this opportunity, and the courage for you to work, in Seattle, where, people of color like us are not in many leadership positions. In fact, that's why someone like you is, for me, needs to be celebrated more than we've already celebrated you. So share with me a story of your childhood, and paint a picture, or talk about some food that you are eating around that time, or some smell, or a place that still inspires you as a leader and, gives you this courage to continue trying no matter how hard it is.
Yeah, so I don't know if this directly ties into why I went into this role. That's like a whole different funny story. But I think one of my earliest childhood memories is because my parents immigrated to New York from Taiwan in the 70s. So I grew up in the early part of my life going back and forth from New Jersey to New York a lot. And New York in the 80s was kind of a rough place. It's definitely better now, but at the time was like there was a lot of poverty, there was a lot of violence, and I think I remember distinctly stopping at a red light and someone washing our windows, because people used to do that to sort of panhandle for money, wash your windows, and then hopefully you'll give them something for cleaning their car. And I remember my parents being very mean to him and basically talking down on this person who is homeless and doing this car washing situation. And I remember very distinctly, I don't know how old I was, but I was definitely in elementary school and like early part of elementary school, and just being very much like, why are you being so mean to that guy? He's just trying to make a living. And I think in many ways, that moment is one of my few clear memories from New York, but it has been like pretty defining, and I think very much shaped my worldview. So I think no matter what I do, whether it's in art or not, it's very much an underpinning of social justice stuff. It just fundamentally is part of my interest. And I think a lot of my work at Northwest Film Forum is about creating space for people who normally don't have a foothold in the film industry, and also like welcoming in people who previously didn't feel like they were welcome in that space because they're people of color, because they were women, because they were queer. So yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. When you shared the kind of work that you do with the Northwest Film Forum, it reminded me that I also had the privilege of screening Madaraka, the documentary that I co-produced, and I was really the main character in the documentary. So thank you so much for also creating space for me and my community, and and this story that we really wanted the world to know. And for me as an African here in Seattle, it's very hard to get an opportunity to work with an organization like, the Northwest Film Forum. So I am definitely, a beneficiary of your efforts. But, walk us a little bit more, around your journey of running the Northwest Film Forum. But also, I read while I was researching our conversation today that Northwest Film Forum was started by 2 women in 1995. Is that right?
Not 2 women. So it was actually 3 people. One was a woman, and we talk to her often. It was 3 filmmakers who started it originally as a filmmaker collective. So the whole point was that it would be a place for people to gather and make films together, and also help. In the early days, they made more actual like productions of films. So yeah.
Excellent. So you are there for the last 3 years as an executive director, and also prior to that the graphic designer, and you and me know that it's at least you and me are executive directors of organizations in this region. And we many people know us, which is not supposed to be the case. We are supposed to have more leaders like us because we have a larger community, but the disparities are just so widespread that I feel that people would benefit from just learning a little bit more of why you work with this beautiful organization, and also what advice you have for other young people of color, whether it's African youths here in Seattle, or even an African youth who is watching this somewhere in Kenya, or an Asian youth watching this in Taiwan, or elsewhere around the world. How did you do it, and also how could they do it? And then talk to us about your transition. One of your passions is to ensure that someone of color becomes the next executive director of the Northwest Film Forum. Why is that important to you?
Yeah. So starting off, as you mentioned, I was a graphic designer there first. And I actually originally didn't apply for this job. So the job came up. I was talking to coworkers who were on the hiring committee, asking them, how's the job search going? And the answers were just like, it's not like going very well. We're not that excited about anyone who applied. And then I started sending out the job listing to friends, and being like, if anyone knows of any women or people of color who could be my boss, let me know, and have them apply for this job. And numerous people texted me back or emailed me back and said, hey, this job description sounds like you. Why don't you apply for this job? And then I thought about it, and I was just like, oh, wow, it's so ingrained. The sense that people of color and people who aren't men can't hold this role is so deeply ingrained that it literally didn't even cross my mind that I could be an executive director or of an organization. It was only after people told me, like, this sounds like you, that I was like, wow, yeah, actually, like, my skill sets are perfectly suited for this job. So then I applied. I was late, but from there, it was unanimous. It was clear, I think, to the hiring committee that I was good for the job. So I think my biggest advice really is, I got 2. I think the first is to really like deconstruct our sense of who is allowed to do these jobs, because there are totally qualified people who apply for the role who don't look like us, but think for some reason that they are the perfect fit for the job. And I think all of us need to have some more of that sense of self-confidence. And there's nothing wrong with applying for a job and being rejected from it. Sometimes that leads to different things and different opportunities. I've had that happen many times. And the other advice I would say is really knowing who you are as a person, and whether a creative person or a person who is interested in nonprofits or whatever you're interested in life, having a sense of what you're committed to and not wavering on that. because I think for me, all of the work I do, even though it's a lot of different types of things, it always fundamentally has like a core sense of my beliefs threaded through it, and that is like the power of the transformative potential of art to make change in society. So whether I'm making films or whether I'm working at Northwest Film Forum, those things like remain true. So just having a clear sense of what are the things that drive you more fundamentally, I think is really important.
Wow, thank you so much. I want to talk a little bit about your transition, and a lot of leaders have a hard time moving on, and also even planning their successors, and I want you to share with us, there's so much to unpack, like in everything you just said, but I just want to leave it as it is, and I want to continue and just talk about, why it's important to you. I know you touched on it a bit, but why it's important to you to come up with like a strong transition plan and an idea of how how the organization is going to look like after you leave, and also I want you to talk a little bit about your own project after that. I want you to talk about Reckless Spirits. That's where I want us to go after this. So talk about why it's important for you to have a strong transition plan, and to ensure, they say that the success of a leader is the success of their successor.
Oh, cool. I like that.
Oh, is it successor or successee?
Successor. Yeah.
Successor, yeah. So your success is determined by the success of the person who is coming after you, and this is part of why personally I'm always, I love mentoring other leaders, especially here in Seattle. There are quite a few young people that I'm always coaching and mentoring, and I feel that that's not enough. What you're doing is actually more real to me, and it's something I want to learn, and that's part of why I'm asking. Thank you.
Yeah, I that's a lovely phrase. I like that, and I agree. Even though I'm leaving Northwest Film Forum because I feel like I have other things I need to do in life, obviously the success of the organization is super important to me because I wouldn't have felt comfortable leaving if I didn't feel like it was in good hands. I feel like the rest of the staff is really strong and they work together really well. And I and two of the other leaders are on the hiring committee. It's not solely our decision. Technically, the executive director is hired by our board of directors, but we have a big role in it. And I think for me, it's really important that it's messaged that I'm a part of the job search process because I know that a lot of people see me as Northwest Film Forum. Like when you're in a role like executive director, whether you want it or not, people identify the organization with you. And I think me saying very publicly that I'm a part of the job search process, telling my story about how I became the executive director, even though I felt like I didn't see myself in that position as a person of color. I think all those things hopefully will set it up so that some younger or maybe older BIPOC person might look at it and see that they could do it and that it's an organization they would also be excited to lead. Obviously, I can't guarantee that it's going to be a BIPOC person. It is going to be whoever is most qualified and most fitting for the next chapter of Northwest Film Forum. But I think playing an active role really hopefully will help create an opportunity for some really excited candidates to step in and feel comfortable stepping in.
Yeah, I agree. And it shows there's so much that you say that also shows your character, like who you are and why you've been successful on your role as the executive director of the Northwest Film Forum. So thank you for all the amazing work you did. But I'm learning that the Northwest Film Forum is moving too, right?
Yeah, so our lease ends in 2 years. We have an opportunity to extend it, but I think we're looking for a more permanent home because we don't own our space right now. So right now we're just having community conversations to figure out where people in our community think that we should go in Seattle, because Seattle's changing a lot. We're in Capitol Hill, which is like, it's an expensive area, and it's hard for us to buy a building in Capitol Hill. So long term, we'll see. And as demographics of Seattle and the communities that we're serving become more diverse, it's just a discussion around where will we be most effective, and where will Seattle as a city most want us to live. It's hard decisions, but we'll see.
Yeah, you are doing a survey to determine where your next location is going to be. Are the results out?
They will be soon. There's still time to take it, though. You should take it, Simon.
I have to take it. I have to take
Yes,
it. I have no
please.
shortcut. I wanted you to give me an idea of what the results are saying so far, but that would be, maybe cheating on the elections.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you
Anyway,
later after you
okay.
take the survey.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone in the room on Clubhouse. Welcome to the African Father in America Club. We are live streaming this conversation on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Simon Javan Okelo, and we are here in the Daily African Proverbs. We do this every single day, and we share African proverbs with hopes that by the end of our conversation, we make our ancestors proud, and also we live with some African wisdom. So that's why we are here. But I'm joined by an amazing, leader here in Seattle, Washington, where I live. And her name is Vivian Hua, and she's, the executive director of the Northwest Film Forum. But she's also multi-talented. She's a film director. She writes for a few magazines. And you should check out her website, vivianhua.com, so that you can learn more about her. But I want you, Vivian, to talk about Reckless Spirits. Why now? And it's out December 18.
I'm shooting it on December 18th. Yeah.
Well, why now?
We'll see when it comes out. Yeah, why now? Good question. So this project is like 6 years in the making. I started writing it when I still lived in Los Angeles with my friend Lisa Sinai Dring. But it's a story it's honestly, I feel like I need to make it now, because there's so many stories featuring people of color in roles that are just heavy. They're only like about trauma, they're only about sad things, and I just really want to make this silly buddy comedy. So what it is about, it's called Reckless Spirits. It's about a gender fluid performance artist and a neurotic therapist and their best friends, and a series of coincidences leads them to a world of psychics, spells, and a cult leader that's threatening to tear their friendship apart. So it's like a really silly comedy, very bright colored, and the whole point is to spread joy, with stories of characters that I don't see anywhere on screen. I even like the actors in it are like, we've never seen a script like this before. I'm like, great, that's like exactly the reason I need to tell this story right now. And I felt really much like it needed to come out in 2021. That's like kind of my own personal spiritual reasons, if you will. I don't have any like clear reason, but I think so much of my life is sort of guided by what I feel like the spiritual world is telling me I need to do. So that's also a part of it.
Wow, Vivian, I'm so happy you brought spirituality into this conversation, because yesterday we had an amazing guest. She's a spiritual leader from South Africa. Her name is, she was born in Zimbabwe, so she's Zimbabwean, but she lives in South Africa. Her name is Gogo Rutendo Ngara, and we talked a lot about African spirituality, and, she did grounding, an African form of meditation or prayer that was really, really powerful. And hopefully I'll have her back on Thursday next week. But, I feel that spirituality has been overwhelmed by Christianity and Islam and these major spiritual pathways. And it has made it so that people who have other spiritual beliefs or ways of being just have a hard time expressing it, and I wanted you to just talk to me a little about when you think about spirituality, what is it that comes to your mind?
Yeah, that's a great question. I grew up Christian, and I think there are some things about Christianity that I do value, but it didn't fully resonate with me because I felt like people were taking it a little too literally. That's just my interpretation, though. But since then, I've sort of found my own way, and it is through, I guess, like having messages delivered from spirit in a way that I just couldn't deny that there is something. So for me, it's less about like the exact religion, and it's more about taking the good parts of different religions and incorporating those into my practices. And for me, it's mostly more about like yoga and meditation and really like listening to your purpose in life, and that can come through dreams, it can come through direct messages, it can come through tools like tarot for me. But I find when I listen to this like deeper intuitive voice, it it opens doors in a way. Like my path to the film forum, and it's too complicated to get into, but it was all just like listening to deeper intuitive stuff. And once you follow that, like different doors and opportunities coming your way. So I think for me, it's just about, yeah, listening to what your purpose in life is. I know that seems so abstract, but
No, it's not. You've said it twice since we started our conversation today, listening to what your purpose in life is. And that's what I do. I think that alone is enough to drive you and nourish you as a human being. So thank you so much. To our amazing audience on Clubhouse, I want to thank you for your presence. I want to invite you on stage in about 5 minutes, let's say 7 minutes. I will be closing hand raising, so I want to invite you on stage so that you can share your perspectives on the conversation that I've been having here with Vivian, and also on today's proverb, nobody is born wise. Thank you, Joseph and Edna, for joining us on stage. I can't wait to hear from you in just a moment. But also to those who are with us on YouTube, thank you again. I'm really, really grateful. We gather here for the daily African Proverbs every single day. And it's just been beautiful. It's just been beautiful. And the ability to record this for the African Father in America podcast has been great for me personally, because I can go back and listen to this conversation an hour or so afterwards. I can share it with my family members who are not on Clubhouse or YouTube, but they just want to, listen to this conversation on their own podcasting platform. So, I'm just so grateful. We recently got to 10,000 downloads on the podcast, and that it's been difficult learning podcasting, and also helping Antioch University create their podcast and being a resource for other people, and then now being able to produce this every day. So thank you to all of you in the room on Clubhouse and all of you who are watching this for the support. So Vivian, I want us to hear briefly from Joseph and Edna, their comments on today's proverb, nobody is born wise, and also their comments, to you or to anything that we spoke about today. And then you will, listen in and then share with us your closing remarks afterwards. Oh, and also how people can support you. I would love for you to think about your social media handles that people can follow you on, or any information that everyone who is listening can use to get in touch with you. So at this moment, I want to pass the microphone to Joseph Kafunda. Joseph, thank you again for your continued support. I hope you're doing well. The mic is yours.
Thank you, Simon. And thank you, Vivian, for unpacking some real African story right there. And I'll just say I'm always amazed every day when I join the African Father in America and listen to the conversations. And to be honest, it has made me realize that life is not just about what I think inside the box, but it's what I think outside the box. And the proverb of today, like it's saying itself, nobody is born wiser. We all been manipulated. I might be able to excuse myself on that, but we have all been manipulated by being sent to have educations, different level of educations. For me, that is a manipulation that they don't want us to become wiser. Because if we look backwards, our parents never had a level of education, but they had a different way of doing things. Because learning doesn't only say you can learn what the books say. So the book is actually making us become more stupid. Sorry for my language as well. It doesn't open our brain. It does not teach us on how we can be able to evolve and become better in life. And just a few minutes ago, I had a conversation with one of my teacher, and he said, "How come you are doing better than everybody else? That we used to be in the same class, same educations, and same level of school." And I told him, "Teacher, sometimes it's not about what I think; it's about how do I use what I'm thinking of and making it different." So it's a matter of us start thinking beyond the box, thinking what is outside the box. If I'm cooking, the things that are flowing outside, how can I be able to make sure that they come back into the same pot and be used? So the proverb today, it's really speaking louder than I can possibly imagine, because if we don't think beyond the box, we can't be wise, and nobody was born wise. But if you use your methodologies, how you use, how you can be able to think beyond the thinking capacity, you can be able to become wise. I look most of the time, I look at stories around cultures, around people around me. If you look at the San people, like for instance, the Bushmen, they knew how to create their own bow and arrows in order to hunt. They knew how to use a certain trees in order to create that arrows, in order to create the bow. How did they do it? It's because they were born not with education, but they were born with different mindsets, and that mindset create them to become wiser. So in today's life, we must also just not be saying that because I'm going to go to school, I'm going to get an education, and then I'll become wiser. No, it doesn't appear that way. To become wise, you have to know which size or which pair of socks do I need to wear. You cannot just rock up on the street with different type of pair of socks, although people will call it models, will call it today's models. But we need to understand that there are certain things that we can be able to use on our brain or inside our brain in order to create the wiseness within us. We were all born wise, but it depends how we use it and how we make use of it. Simon, I'm done speaking. My name is Joseph Kafunda.
Thank you so much, Joseph. Let's hear from Edna. Thank you very much, Joseph, for your words of wisdom. Edna, share with us your thoughts as well on the conversation we've been having with Vivian Wa, and also the proverb, nobody is born wise. And to everyone who is just joining us, we've been here for the last 34 minutes for the Daily African Proverbs, and I'm really, really privileged to be hosting Vivian Wa as my special guest. If you want to see us on your screen, we are live streaming this conversation on YouTube, and the link at the top of the room is the best way for you to join us. Now I'll pass the microphone to Edna.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you for this space. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in your room. I always enjoy your conversations and the daily proverbs that you normally host. So regarding the proverb, I looked at the definition of the word wisdom, and I came across one meaning: the body of knowledge and experience that develops within a specified society or a period. And my understanding of this is that as we continue to grow, we need to be intentional in terms of how we define ourselves, because as you age or as you grow old, you become experienced, you get to learn a lot of things, but that need not to be an opportunity to you to feel comfortable or to feel special or for you to feel like you own that particular space. It is an opportunity for us to be humble, for us to seek knowledge, to be desiring to learn from other people and the opportunities that come our way. And through that, we find ourselves in a position where we are able to learn something new from people who are either older or people who are younger than us, and also accept people the way they are and also be in a position to impact positively in their lives. That's my interpretation about the proverb. Thank you so much, Simon. Thank you, Vivian, and every other person.
Thank you so much, Edna. I really, really appreciate your share. Let's hear from Makuba. Thank you, Makuba, for joining us again today. I hope you're doing well. Share with us your perspectives on the proverb or your comments on the conversation Vivian and I have been having for today's session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simon, for the opportunity. It's always a blessing to be able to tap in to get inspiration and calmness through this room. Unfortunately, I tapped in late, so I didn't have the value of the conversation. I missed the conversation. But in reference to nobody is born wise, my father used to tell me with my grandfather, and we used to sit around the bonhouse fire in the village, and he used to say, wisdom is very expensive. And at the time, he would tell us African folklore stories, and he said this: the longer you're here on this earth, when you open your mind, you can recreate and impact others. And through that, you are able to make good decisions. Your values are able to be strengthened. And just like in the Bible, we talk about spiritual food. When we are born, we eat soft food. And as we become older and stronger, and our cognitive skills, we start to think. One of the things I believe our African diaspora face today is that we live in a society of accelerated change and accelerated complexity, as well as competition. And so, in everything they do, they need to be able to be strategic in their thinking and be wise and identify themselves with quality people and choose their paths wisely. And you don't get wisdom when you're just a newborn baby. Your wisdom is very limited. And so I think that's a very powerful quote, that as we look around the world and see what's going on today, we take a moment and pause and determine whether we're going right or left. This is Makuba, and I'm complete. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Makuba. I can see Vivian smiling. I can't wait for you to share your comments on everyone's share and also your closing remarks, as well as how people can support you. But Joy, Noel, share with us your brief remarks on the proverb and or the conversation that Vivian and I have been having. Thank you again for being here with us.
Like Makuba, I came in kind of late, so I didn't get to hear the preface. But I'm so torn about this proverb. And the reason being is we know with our head that nobody's born wise, right? Because you have to go through life experience to gain knowledge. And I love what Joseph said about how books are making us dumber. And that's true, right? So but the part I'm torn about is sometimes when children come, they have a sense of an old spirit with them, right? And if you pay attention, you can kind of learn things from them. So that's why I'm kind of torn. It's like they're not educated, they don't know anything, but their spirit, and when they come to us, there's something about them that makes you feel like sometimes that, okay, this child's spirit has been here before. So that's why I'm kind of torn about nobody is born wise, because technically no one is. But then when you see some of these children, it makes you wonder, What are they trying to tell me? What am I needing to learn from them? What guidance are they trying to give me as an adult? So that's why I'm torn between the proverb, but it's a good proverb.
Thank you so much. And thank you again, Joy Noel and Makuba and Edna and Joseph for your contributions today. And, to Natasha, Ella, Roger, Karen, Kay, Nene, Dr. Wanda, thank you. And also to Susan, Neema, Robert, Sangita, Juliet, Fred, Tunji, Tonjalia, and Yit Barik. Thank you for being with us on Clubhouse. And, if you want to join us for this last few minutes on YouTube, the link is right at the top of the room. And I want to bring, the microphone back to Vivian here for a moment to share her thoughts on everything that, you all shared on the proverb for today, and also your closing remarks, Vivian. How did you feel about today's conversation with me, and how can we stay connected with you? How can we support your work?
Oh, yeah, those are really good feedbacks. Thanks, everyone. I love to hear everyone's interpretations and agree sort of with all of them. I thought the first one was really interesting because I've been thinking a lot lately about how I had to pull up my college GPA, grade point average, and I just was like, my grade point average was terrible, and I've always been bad at school. And for a long time growing up, I thought I was just like really stupid. And then I realized now that I'm not actually stupid, and that, has been, I think people can see that, but that we don't all learn the same way. There are people who learn really well in school, but don't have what we call street smarts. They don't necessarily function in the world super well. Sometimes they have both. But I think valuing different types of knowledge is so important when we think about who is wise. And then the other thing I just always think about when I think was it, I forget, Akuba maybe was talking about staying humble. And I always think about the Kendrick Lamar song Mama, where he lists like everything that he knows. It's like a long list of like, I know everything. I know spirituality, etc., morality, all these things. And then at the end, it's basically like, I don't know anything, actually. And whenever I find myself getting a little too arrogant or thinking that I know stuff and then finding out, oh, wait, I don't actually know anything, I definitely think of that song a lot. Yeah, so I love this conversation. I thought it was really like the most interesting part for me was to hear everyone's interpretations of the proverb. So thank you for setting up this cool framework.
You're most welcome. Thank you. Thank you again for making the time on short notice. It means a lot. I want you to make sure you share with us how we can support you, because, for me, it's important that everyone that, shows up and, as a guest and supports the Daily African Proverbs is also supported by this amazing community, so share with us how we can connect with you, stay connected with you, and support you.
Cool, yeah. So you can see all of my work and learn more about me at vivianhua, vivianhua.com. I'm also looking for supporters for my short film, for my feature film, Reckless Spirits, which we talked about. And lastly, I am on most of the social media at hello, my name is V as in Vivian, E as in Edward, E as in Edward. Hello, my name is V. So yeah, all those things are a good way to find me.
And thank you so much, Vivian. I'm grateful. And in closing today's session, I want to thank you all who have watched this on YouTube and those who are going to watch it later. Please make sure you leave us with your comment what this proverb means to you. Nobody is born wise. Share with us your comments. And also, we've learned a lot today. We've learned, I shared my interpretation of the proverb. Vivian shared hers. Then we learned about her story, her childhood story that inspires who she is as a leader today. And then we learned about the work that she did at the Northwest, and she's still doing at the Northwest Film Forum, her work with, the film that she's working on, Reckless Spirit, right? Reckless Spirit, right? Mm-hmm. And then we had your interpretations and learned from you, Edna and Makuba and Joy Noel, as well as Joseph, who already left the stage. And also, I have to say that I learned from all of you who have just been listening and watching without directly engaging, because your presence is something that is really, really important, and without that, this conversation is not possible. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful morning or evening or day, and just take good care of yourselves. Peace and love.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to